I have a problem, and that's with the word nice. Um, I think there's a big difference between nice and empathetic. I'd say the key difference in the mechanism and how they operate in a technical way would be that empathy tends to be something that strikes you more naturally and in the moment. Niceness is more practiced and deliberate, and that's where my contention comes in. Because I put it this way, I grew up with a father who is was in recent years quite fixated on a book. I don't know how long he's been saying this honestly. I can't remember. It's been a long fucking time now. He's telling me about a book called How to Win Friends and Influence People by the Carnegies. One of the Carnegies. University people over in the US. Big, rich, powerful, rich people. Successful. The implication being you should read this book and you'll be successful. However, I sensed something in it, in the idea, that I really didn't like. And it's this concept of manipulation, and that it would be practiced and not deliberate. And for someone like me, I don't think that's really right. It's not. Unfortunately, those kind of situations are so high pressure for me in terms of stress. And people are like, don't stress. It's just like, it's just how I'm wired. You don't understand. So I prefer to just be on my own. You know, but like, that's just how it is. Like, I've learned that it's just better off to stay on my own, and then I don't have to deal with all this social pressure stuff. And I seem to be happier that way. And I like, the less confrontations I have with people, the less drama I have in my life, the more I'm eating, sleeping, and taking care of myself. I'm having a bit of a slip up lately because I've had a fight with the housemates, and I just don't want to deal with their bullshit anymore. I don't want them to judge me by their own viewpoint, their own internal viewpoint of who I should be, and because they're not my fucking parents. Frankly, I don't think it's appropriate. It's none of their business. What I do with my life now on is none of their business. Like, it's nobody's business other than mine. You know, I'm not talking to my parents anymore. I'm done with them. As far as I'm concerned, people can be as upset and triggered about all they want, how I've changed, right? I'm doing what is best for myself, and I have enough affirmation from my support network at NDIS, from the social groups I interact with online that I've got, from some of the discords I'm joining when it comes to stuff like developing, writing source code and stuff like that, and writing programs. I've had a few pull requests accepted for a few projects that have thousands of users. Some of these projects are catching people forking it, like they'll have people making a fork of these projects every 4 to 6 hours. They're rapidly gaining users, and I've contributed major patches that have improved the functionality of the project. So, I've got some stuff going on. I'm doing a bit of electronic stuff. I'm doing some theory. You can see I've got a whiteboard up behind me here. Doing some theory and planning and stuff to do with artificial intelligence. I've got some ideas. People don't realise how incredibly bright and well studied I am. My parents sort of knew, but my friends don't really understand. They haven't really seen as much of that on display now as they used to. And like, I forget, like, all the stuff that I used to build and do. Like, I used to go around the house with a bloody toolbox, and I'd like a soldering iron in it and a few basic tools, and I just get some basic materials. Like, I just grab some stuff from Bunnings. So it's like, yeah, let's knock this together. Or I'd go to the J car and I'd come back and I'd have a little gas house soldering iron, and I just put something together in like a few hours or something. Like, yeah, let's just put this together. Blah blah blah. Done. Here you go. This is a thing that I made. You know, like, I did that a few times. You know, like, I've got a real skill there, and I think they've forgotten that, like, just how smart I really am. And I'm choosing to do what I want to do at the moment, and I am choosing to contribute to open source projects off of my DSP, because that way I'm actually making the world better in a small way, because these projects are used by thousands of people, right? I'm actually doing something. I'm working full time doing this, you know, on my own terms. I work for myself. As far as I'm concerned, that's fucking good enough. If people don't like that, that's their fucking problem. I don't care anymore. You know, like if I decide I want to do some Libre work and do that on my government pay so that I'm like actually giving something back to society in my own way, on my own fucking terms, and I don't have to deal with people's bullshit. And I get to feel good about it, and I get affirmation. Like, and you know what'll happen, like you'll go to contribute project code to one project and the politics of the project will be so alien to your own that they, like, not in terms of like politics, but just like in terms of personal politics, like just the way you are as a person will be so different from them. Because you say politics and people go, oh, why are you talking about parliament? It's not a very bright take on that word, to be honest. Like, you should you should open a thesaurus sometime and look up the word politics means. Look at the word anthropology sometime. You know, those are kinds of words that people need to look up and actually be subjects they need to get interested in. Because you understand what I'm actually talking about. The interpersonal politics is basically this, you know, it's essentially the same concept in terms of larger politics, but between people. You know, the same kind of skullduggery, the same kind of behaviour. I see it all. You know, I used to work for businesses. I used to work for in the building industry. I used to do IT stuff everywhere, right? I used to do it for Apple. I used to do stuff deploying computers from a place called Winthrop. I've done all kinds of stuff. And the one thing I found is that behind the scenes, there is just a little bit more going on than you're being told. But it's not a huge amount. It's just a little bit more than you're being told is going on. And it's the people who keep certain things to themselves. This is true about human beings. These are basic conclusions. Everybody who sort of has any experience sort of all goes, duh, right? But there's people younger than me who are like, that's not true. People are just basically nice. And I'm like, you have no fucking idea. Like, you've been very, very lucky. You've pleased people, but it can only get you so far, I think. I think being a people pleaser only gets you so far. I think you actually have to have skill, and honestly, I wonder if the people who develop people pleasing skills like that actually aren't all that skilled in other ways. Because the people, with customer support and things like that, but the technical skills only go so far. So, like, they're in their field, and then it becomes a thing where they're just talking a big game, you know. So, this thing, like, I do wonder if certain people in my life have certain aspirations for me, and that's why they're upset with me, is because I wanted you to collaborate with me on this project, and I haven't told you about it because this reason and that reason. And it's just like, I'm sick and tired. Like, my parents used to do this to me, by the way, teachers, a whole bunch of people. I'm sick and tired of people having these ideas about me in their head, about what I'm really like, and about what I'm going to do, and about what the future holds. This is a form of delusion. It's a psychological problem. It's a projection of expectation. It's a form of ownership. You're claiming ownership over that person by having expectations of them. And I find that to be highly insulting and to be really debilitating when it comes to my autonomy, my sense of self-worth. I feel like people would just want to fucking own me. My father just wants to fucking virtually own me, and it's all live vicariously through me. Some of these other people have been criticising me the last few years I've had to deal with and get rid of. They just want to claim ownership, but they don't actually want to claim any responsibility. I mean, most of these people just want to sit, I'm not joking, most of them sit in front of televisions or other fucking screens, at least when I'm sitting in front of a screen, right? Every single time that I'm doing it, I'm contributing something, and have been for the last, I don't know, you can check my GitHub history. You know, let me pull up GitHub and have a look here and see what my actual activity's been like, because it's pretty fucking solid at this point. The bar charts, surely the yeah, there's a space between March and April where I had these last set of teeth out. Right, I needed to take a rest, but then like mid-April, it just starts right back up again, and it's just been solid since the middle of April. There's been a few days here and there. Right, May the 5th, I took a day off. It's June the 4th. Yeah, once a month I seem to take a day off. I've just worked, and you can see, like, I did 115 contributions on May the 16th. Yeah, there's like, it's like from December, there's a block that starts 2,432 contributions in the last year. I have the Arctic Code Vault Contributor badge for ESP8266 Arduino software, the Freetronics DMD2 repo, and something called Arduino No Wi-Fi. I can't remember what that was about. The YOLO badge for merging without a review. And a quick draw for closing within 5 minutes of opening a pull request, which is fine. And a pull shark for something like 128 pull requests so far, 3 silvers. Yeah, so I've got a hell of a lot of activity on GitHub, and some notoriety as well. I've actually got quite a few people following me with stars now, so let's I'm going to look at projects, because repositories. That's, yeah, the TTS, Net TTS has 10 stars, has users. QuantSci, the codec stack that I'm building, which is a huge project. I have 4,500 unit tests now for this Python project I've been doing for the last 2 or 3 weeks. It's an entire agentic front end for Llama CPP, and it allows you to run codecs locally, but it's extremely well integrated. But you can also run codecs. I'm getting it to the point where it's detached, so codecs is completely detached, and you have a little wrapper which updates the local models catalog, so you can request models from the server correctly, and that closes the gap in terms of informational transfer that is needed to update codecs' model lists, because I don't actually understand how OpenAI is doing that currently. I'm pretty sure they just ship the list of models hard linked in Llama CPP, and that's not going to work for local use. So for a local client, we need something that's a little bit more immediate. I've extended the B1 responses API. I've got my own APIs next to it. So I'm doing all kinds of stuff. Like this is like a few megabytes of Python code now. It's massive. It's doing benchmarks at the moment. Actually, I'll have a look. See, where am I on the benchmarks? 17 benchmarks of 19. I think it's a nice perplexity ratings as well. I've come up with a perplexity benchmark where I feed it old C code from an operating system from 1997, and we'll see what it makes of it, because it's got documentation, but it's completely new. It was done by another artificial intelligence in the same pattern as the 1997 type code, for a completely new application that I'm developing. So I decided that might be a good one, because it should show the really bad coding agents out, or really bad coding models out really quick from the really good ones. Should converge real quick. So I want to see a first warm, I want to see a cold perplexity that's maybe 3 or 4, and then a hot perplexity of maybe 1, something around 1 or 2. If we see something like that, that's good convergence. But if we see a cold perplexity of 32, and then a hot perplexity of 24, it's kind of crap, to be honest. And I'm seeing that with Google's models at the moment. Actually, Gemma 4 and stuff like that are not very good. But yeah, I'm just tired of the way people have been judging me and stuff. Well, I'm just sick of it. I've had enough. You know, I'm doing. I cannot tell you how many projects I've got here. I've got exactly 30 repositories, and most of them are public. Some of them are private. The game prototype I'm doing is private because it's way too early. I'm still engaging in reconnaissance of various game engines. I'm still building agentic tools to introspect the engine that I chose, because I realised that this is a slightly older engine and resource efficient and can be extended significantly if we play our cards right. A lot of things have been fixed and improved over the last few years. I realised that um, you could probably hook a lot of stuff in and use a coding agent to build a lot of assets for you. Not necessarily like visual assets, but everything behind the system in terms of not so much code, but just a lot of the back end work that's really grindy and sucky. Um, you know, including compiling maps, because Hammer, like stuff like Valve Hammer, for example. See, I've already leaked details right there. Um, they're nice, but the compilation tools can be kind of a bit dated, honestly. So I'm looking at that. I'm looking at the map formats and stuff because I want to see if AI can block out maps in games in a text-based format. Because I know that many map formats start off as text files with full of metadata, and usually the JSON files or XML files of some kind. So this is usually some sort of format that's well known. That's a good approach, you know, like I know it's for a fact that artificial intelligence has some understanding of a mapping of physical dimensions to numbers, so that, say, a 1x2, it will be a certain shape. You know, it will be a rectangle with two on one side and one on the other, right? And it knows that a 1x1 is going to be a square, a 4x4 will be a square. It knows that. It understands these relationships between ratios, numbers, and shapes. And it knows that three different numbers usually means a triangle. Usually it's 3 angles at that point. It's better to measure with 3 angles, because that specifies size and shape and configuration all in one go. It gives you area, it gives you everything. You can calculate all of that from those 3 angles, I think, if I remember correctly. I'm trying to think, what else? Yeah, there's a lot of spatial relationship type work into mapping the numbers that it understands anyway. Yeah, that we can potentially take advantage of. I've seen this thing design user interfaces and websites. I'm pretty sure by now it understands the mapping between numbers and physical dimensions. So that's and probably better than human beings do to some degree as well. And a lot of user interfaces I designed were pretty crude, and so were designed months, even 6 months ago, back when ChatGPT and Codex were not very good compared to what they are now. Like they're even better. I had to do everything step by step. It's one of those things where I did one feature per branch, you know, and then closed it. One feature per branch and then closed it. And I have a huge branch history on some of my repos as a consequence. Huge. That's kind of good in terms of timeline. Shows you some stuff. But I'm tired of being judged, you know. There's a serious mental health issue going on in our population where people take in this idea of what people are, people that they become emotionally attached to, and then they just build up this idealized sort of parallel concept of you that lives in their mind. And the worst thing is that when we do this in the law, we call this parallel construction. And we create an evidence trail via alternative means to get the same prosecution by still unethical means. But you're aware, you became aware of it by knowledge of something else external, is what makes it unethical. But, and that's the thing, is constructing an internal idea of another human being and then making that human being fight against your idealised version of them. I've seen this pattern, I don't know from how many people now, here in WA, here in Perth, here in my immediate surroundings. It's happened to me for decades. And I have to ask, what the fuck these people think they're doing. I think that's a fair question by this point. I don't know. That's just me. I think it's a fair question by this point.